Those of you that are in a relationship, please, it is very, very important for you and your partner to go and do a HIV test. The story about to hear from this lady is going to make some of you think about your life. This is her story.
Hi, I'm Patience Dauda Ayako, and I'm about to share my story, how I discovered I'm HIV positive, and how life has been unfair to me. This is my story. Even while they were taking my blood for test, I was like, why are you taking my blood? He said I should just calm down. And at the end of the day, the person just came, no counseling, nothing. And the person just said, you are HIV positive. That was actually the first time that I will know that I'm HIV positive. One thing I know is that I know who infected me. And the person that infected me was the one that took me to the hospital just to go and ascertain if I have the virus. If not, why should he has done that? We went to do the testing and I was found positive and he accepted that we will be together. But I never knew that the daughter I married him with, he was also molesting her. And just as you have said, this is a clarion call for everyone to go do their test.
Ma, how did you discover you had HIV?
All right, I discovered I had HIV in two ways. The first time I was in denial and I never believed I was HIV positive. That was through a friend whom professed love to me and said he wanted to get married to me. But on the line, I found out that he was married and I told him that I wasn't interested in the relationship again. And one day he just came to me that he's taking me somewhere. And I told him, I'm no longer interested in the relationship. Why? Where are you taking me to? And he said I should just follow him. And well, I followed him and he took me to a lab and tests were conducted. Even while they were taking my blood for test, I was like, why are you taking my blood? He said I should just calm down. And at the end of the day, the person just came, no counseling, nothing. And the person just said, you are HIV positive. And there and then, I didn't take it serious. I just felt, maybe because I said I was not dating him anymore, so he wanted to get back to me. So that was actually the first time that I will know that I'm HIV positive. But I never took it serious. Yes, I never took it serious. Then the second time was after my marriage. I was married and we didn't do any tests with my husband, not until after jingles, awareness on HIV. And we both agreed that, with all these jingles, why not go to the hospital to conduct some tests? And because I was living in denial, I never even thought of it or remembered that in my past life, something happened that I went to the hospital to know that I was positive. And when we got to the hospital, we were tested. And at the end of the day, I was positive. And I was asked if I was willing to tell my husband. And I said, yes, I was willing to tell him. And since I was a single parent already, I had a child because I got married to him with a daughter. So I was like, okay, you can just go. I already have a daughter. Because the education we have then was that once you are HIV positive, you are doomed to die. You can't have children. So I just asked him that, well, you can just go. I already have a child. Just go live a life and I'll also live my life. But he said, no, that marriage was for better and for worse.
Wow.
And so we went back home. But that very thing that happened that day, we'll have to bet other things in the marriage that will make me to cry later in life, which if I had known that very time, I would have just left the marriage. But as things unfold, we'll get to know what happened anyway.
Wow. Okay, so the first time you received a test result about your HIV status, how many years was it before you went for another test?
Okay, I would say it was up to 4 years.
4 years you were living with HIV without knowing?
Yes, I was living without knowing. I was healthy.
Are you sure?
Nothing, yes.
Oh my goodness. I think everybody right now needs to go check their status. What this means is that you can actually have it and not even know. Were you falling sick?
I was not really sick. I was not sick, even though time to time I get ill, but I was not ill because the reason why I would know I was not down was that as at the time I and my husband we go have the test, and I was aware now that I was HIV positive and started my drugs. When I went to heart for the counseling and everything, my CD4 cells were very high. My CD4 cells were very high. And CD4 cells are like the armies in our body that help protect and fight our immune system. So my CD4 cells are very high. So I was actually living with the virus and not knowing and not really doing anything. And just as you have said, this is a clarion call for everyone to go do their test.
Wow. Wow, I'm still curious how you were not falling sick while it's crazy. So now, I don't know if it's okay to ask how is it possible for you to spot exactly how you got this HIV? Do you think you can lay your fingers on what exactly?
I can't lay my finger exactly, but one thing I know is that I know who infected me, and the person that infected me was the one that took me to the hospital just to go and ascertain if I have the virus. If not, why should he has done that? But I know also that as at that time, I had so many relationships that packed off. So I believe that it will have come from any of those relationships, but I am more curious because of that person that took me to go and do that test. So I strongly believe, and having met that person in one of my clinic also, having met that person also collecting drugs, made me to also understand that person was the person that actually infected me.
Are you a medical person?
No, I'm not a medical person.
Okay, because you say one of our clinics.
Yes, one of the clinics that we source for drugs.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what I mean. When I say it means that I am agreeing that I am HIV positive. So we have so many clinics. So I say one of our clinics.
Okay, that you go to buy those.
No, we don't buy. We don't buy. The drugs are free.
Okay.
Yes, the drugs are free.
You go to go pick them up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like you to tell us about your past life in a way that you can educate people watching you, especially young people. What are some of those mistakes you made that you wouldn't want people to make?
Well, I can't talk about that without going back memory lane. I grew up in a very loving family. I was pampered, being the fourth child and the only girl in the family. I was pampered and loved by both parents, and even my siblings adored me. But the tragedy of my life struck when we lost my mom, when she went to get provisions for my elder brother who was to go back to school. And my mom died in that ghastly motor accident. And my dad, being a soldier then, could not continue at the barracks. So we had to go back to the village. So I was doing well in the village, doing very well. I was already the acting head girl of my school. When we went visiting my auntie, my only surviving auntie, and I got to meet a guy, and that guy happened to also come from Jos. He was schooling in Barking Ladi Polytechnic, then way back. So, I got somebody that is coming from where I had lived. So we got talking, and I got to like him anyway. And one of these days, he invited me to his room, and that day we made love with each other, and that was the first time I'll have sex.
How old were you then?
I was about 17. I was about 17, or I should say 16 plus, because I had my baby when I was 17, so I was about 16. So we made love, and that very night, I never knew that when I left his room, his mom was watching. And the mom saw the blood on my dress, And she took cognizance of that. And that could have also been what will help me in time to come. Because when I finally told him that I was pregnant, he denied the pregnancy. So it was his mom that stood up for me. So after that, it was tough. Having that pregnancy was tough. I had to leave school, and I had the baby. And after having the baby, there was this thing in me that was pushing me to go back to school, because I was like, Patience, you are made for more. You can't be an ordinary village girl. You must go back to school. I wanted to go back to school, but yet there was no help, because my dad severed every relationship that we had with him. He was angry because he wanted me to become a nurse to take care of him at his old age. So that was how I went back to school. But before I went back to school, I had to sell fuel, black market fuel, sell kerosene, dig cassava to make gari, to just to take care of my daughter and to go back to school. So at the long run, because of the maltreatment of my stepmom, I had to come to Abuja. And that was the first time I would be molested. I came to Abuja and came to a family's friend place where I thought I'll be protected and directed. But that same family friend started molesting me. And because of what is at back home, I was not willing to go back home. Do you know that I left that family friend's place to his elder brother's place, thinking that I will have like protection there. But the elder brother also was molesting me. So it was tough for me. It was tough for me. At the end of the day, so many things happened. To cut the long story short, I finally joined the force, the Nigerian police force, and that was when I met the first guy I talked about that took me to go and do the first test. Yes. So after that, I got to get married to somebody I knew before that time. So we got married, and as I've said before, we went to do the testing, and I was found positive, and he accepted that we will be together. But I never knew that